Welcome back to UPress Play, a sports show produced by FAU Student Media. We are live streaming on OwlTV's YouTube, as well as broadcasting on over the Breezeway and Owl Radio. I'm JD. Joined alongside me are Maddox, Megan, and Cameron. Man, it feels good that it's Friday, let me tell you, because although this was a short week, this was one of the most jam-packed, absolutely bonkers news filled weeks. But, you know, I could go on about my week. Guys, how was the short week for you guys?
A little bit stressful, especially I have like an assignment for one class that is due basically next Monday, which I'm trying to push back for another couple of days. But other than that, just preparing for tomorrow's FAU Army game. I'll be calling for the game for FAU Owl Radio. You can check that on TuneIn Radio or over the Breezeway.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
You've done a good amount of research, which maybe we could share some of those facts if you're down when we get into that. But Megan, how's this week going for you? I already know how it's going for you, but please enlighten the people.
This week has been hectic. It started out crazy. I don't want to go. My flight to Michigan, from Michigan, it got canceled. So that whole game, I started out this week by driving back from Michigan. So that's just how my week started out. And it's wrapped up a little crazy as well. But I'm excited. I'm going to the bonfire tonight, and Shaq's going to be DJing. So.
Yeah. Four-time champion. DJ Diesel's going to be here DJing for the annual bonfire. Any of you guys going to that besides Megan?
Nah, I got to prepare for tomorrow's game.
You're locked in.
I've had a great week, unfortunately. Not unfortunately.
Fortunately, actually.
No, that's great.
I've had a great week. I won't be at the bonfire, but like Maddox said, I'm excited to watch some FAU football tomorrow. I'm not going to spoil what we have to talk about, but I think it's going to be interesting. So
We're going to be covering for 24/7 Sports.
I will be, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 247, we locked in. As you can see, we got new drip, courtesy of OwlTV. We're looking like the Smurfs
matching
today. But no, we're locked in. Shout out to them. They just had their general meetings today, Fridays at 1 p.m., which you can always pull up to in room. What room are we in?
231.
231. Thank you, Maddox. What would I do without you? Like we always do in every show, we're going to get into our FAU housekeeping, which is just making sure that before we get into topics of NFL, NBA, national sports, we want to make sure we cover home base. Brian White has signed a 5-year extension, which I thought I had a hyperlink to. But before I pull up the specifics about that, first thoughts, guys.
I'm glad that they did this. Actually, I tweeted about that, how glad I was that Brian White got an extension. This guy brought in FAU from Conference USA to the American Athletic Conference, brought in Coach Herman, brought in Dusty May, and now brought in Coach John Jack, who hopefully will be a great coach as well. Find big shoes to fill from what Dusty May did. But so far, he made great decisions as a athletic director, especially his new age in college sports, especially college football. So I'm excited to see the future beholds once I become an alumni.
Yeah, absolutely. President Volnick had announced the contract extension via a press release, and this now has the vice president and the director of athletics tied until 2029. And I just think, when this news was announced, I think it goes to show, like you said, he brought us to the AAC. Got Coach May, who then ended up, going to Michigan, a Power 5 school. He probably had a ton of interest from Power 4 schools all over the country. So I think it really goes to show the loyalty and, how much he really believes in FAU as something to really build with. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people, we mention this at the UP all the time about being a part of something from scratch. And I think Brian White probably feels, that this is something that he started from scratch and that he's building up, and he didn't want to go somewhere else that already has a great history of athletics. He wants to create that history, and I think that's really great.
To the average fan, this might not seem like the biggest news, but Matt just kind of hinted at it. With the time we're in, it's really, really important to lock down someone like Brian White as your athletic director. He's someone that's very well connected across the industry. He's someone that's really well respected across the industry. So locking him down until 2029, I think it was, when we're about to start, revenue sharing here in about a year, depending on how that goes. Things are going to keep changing. They're changing already. They're going to keep changing. And at a time when FAU doesn't have a president, signing him on, someone who, like we said, he shepherded us from CUSA to the AAC, hired a bunch of really, really great guys. Locking down someone like him is important. at this time. So I think it's good news to hear.
Yeah, and he's also like, he clearly understands kind of the whole brand image that FAU is trying to go for, like with the recent decision to have the NIL in Paradise. Like, it was a good choice, and I'm sure that he played a factor in that. And like all three of you have said, the recruits that he's made coaching wise, it's almost kind of like FAU is becoming like his child, and he probably wanted to like stick with it. You know, he's building up the school, so it's a great extension for them.
18 years, to make sure of it, 18 years.
Yeah, right. Make sure the school comes of age first. But yeah, just some stats here from the press release. The 2023-2024 year culminated with Florida Atlantic boasting $23 million in athletic fundraising, an all-time high for the third consecutive year. Athletics fundraising climbed 51% over last year and an astounding 540% over 2020 to 2021. White staff has solicited 34 6- and 7-figure gifts to athletics over the past 6 years, the most in any 6-year span in school history. So like Cameron was saying, this guy is well connected, and I think one thing that's, at a moment in a time where FAU no longer has a president, which if you were not informed on that, we are covering at the University Press the presidential search, but let's stay on the sports side of things. Brian White, he's clearly has a vision for athletics, especially with, the new NIL, movement in college athletics, and it's very vital to be a face in the community that people recognize, not only for the civilians and the students, but obviously for the donors and the, just to keep it frank, the rich people in the community, because that's what's going to really, keep athletics going and expanding. And I guess the hope is by the end of this 5-year contract that we have a new basketball arena, which is at the top of everyone's mind, since tickets are always
They're hard to come by.
They're hard to come by. So, definitely a great move, and, looking forward to what the next 5 years look like for Brian White and athletics. Moving into FAU football, FAU will play Army tomorrow, 12 p.m. kickoff. It'll be the home opener of the season for FAU. This will also be the first matchup between FAU and Army in school history. So that's always fun whenever a school gets to play a new opponent for the first time and be a part of that history. And this is also be the first AAC matchup of the season. So a lot of firsts for both teams. Exciting matchup. What do you guys think is one thing that you guys are looking forward to or are going to keep note of going to this game? Obviously, last show we all mentioned the triple option offense that Army runs, which I guess if I could even try to explain that without a visual, it's, the triple option, your 3 options are the quarterback runs the ball, the running back runs the ball, or another running back runs the ball. So just constantly having to stay on your toes. For what that offense is going to throw at you. We know that they're not going to pass the ball that much. Their starting quarterback threw the ball 6 times last game, and they still put up over 40 points. So what are some kind of things that you guys are going to be looking for? Cam,
I'll start off, just the defense being really, really sound, throughout the entire game. You hinted at it a little bit. The triple option, it's designed, to deceive a defense. You get to chasing the ball one way just to go the other way. So Herman kind of said it himself. You want to be almost like, you have to be perfect almost on every single play, even with, a roster that's probably, I'd say, a lot more talented than Army. So the defense being really gap sound, really scheme sound, through all 4 quarters, that's kind of what I'm looking for. We got to see it for a little bit against Michigan State, but there were some breakdowns, and believe it or not, I think that defense is, especially up front, you're going to get put to the test a little bit more this week, so that's what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. No, I think that's definitely a good point, and I think it'll be important to see what those defensive rotations look like, because, that front 7, if they're dealing with run play after run play after run play, especially with a 12 p.m. kick, it's going to start to wear down on you. So it'll be interesting to see if we have some more guys cycling.
And they should. I'm glad you bring that up because, defensive line somewhere as a kind of a position they targeted in the offseason, especially in the transfer portal. 3 of their 4 highest rated transfers were on the defensive line. So tomorrow, you're right, we are going to see what that kind of depth looks like.
Yeah. And what any takeaways for you guys?
I mean, I'm excited to see what the offense will do this time around. You know, Cam Fancher, we really saw that he could run the ball in this Michigan State game. So,
Maybe a little too much.
well, that's what I'm curious to see. Like, is the offensive coordinator going to tell him, hey, don't run the ball as much? Or are they still going to lean into that, but do it in a safer manner? Because certain runs weren't that safe, and his helmet kept coming off. So hopefully we don't see that happening as much. But also just seeing what type of plays that the offense can put together, because I feel like we didn't really ever see them flowing that well. There were certain moments in time that they were, but that's what I'm looking to see, is if the offense can make some more connections with receivers, especially they're playing at home this time, so they won't really have that like external crowd factor. Yeah.
So I do have to fall back on what Megan said. I remember at the presser, Coach Herman was saying how after the game during practice he was speaking to Cam Fancher, be like, hey, like try not to slide, try to like dive, try not to like slide too much or too late, try not to get injured. Cam knows is an issue, so we're going to probably not see that many slides by Fancher if he's running. However, like a big thing, of course, is the triple option effect, and seeing how this defense for FAU, which is we've seen from last game, really good defense. See how they play against this unpredictable type of offense like triple option, especially with a team full of transfer guys, especially in the secondary. And then for the offense, just seeing how well they mesh together. Like the first game was the first game of the week. You're on the road against a Power 4 school. Kind of difficult, especially with a lot of guys on the roster, either freshmen or transfers. So a lot of like new faces, especially the right tackle position. So seeing how that offense and offensive line mesh together, probably a little bit better this time, since they saw what they could do better last game. But also, now the Owl Walk, now being in front of the fans at this noon game, exciting atmosphere, first game honoring the military, which is very close to home for Coach Herman. Being in that atmosphere, I feel like would be much better upside for the offense, especially if they start the ball early on and set the tone for the game for the offense.
Yeah, that was definitely the main takeaway that I had. Not to echo a little bit about what you guys had, is to see how the team plays at home. Obviously, it should be a more comfortable situation for them. But I was actually reading some reports that it'll actually be a pretty packed game due to the Army connection.
Yeah.
A lot of ROTC cadets will be there in attendance. So there may not be too many Owl supporters at this game, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But
We'll see how the students do, see what the alumni do. We got to show up.
yeah, students and alumni have to show up and show their support. They definitely do play a huge role in the morale and the overall strength of the team. But yeah, I think a lot of valuable points. We have to see what the offense is going to look like. There wasn't too much to look at since receivers weren't getting open, the O-line wasn't holding up. So hopefully there can be some good drives actually put together here.
I think we will. I mean, I think you're going to get to see a lot more of what like the offense is supposed to look like. And Megan kind of brought up how many times is he going to run the ball? A lot less probably than Army. I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think Coach Fry drew up Cam Fancher carrying the ball 25 times, 13 more than the next leading rusher. I think you're definitely going to see him a lot more comfortable. I think the pass protection isn't going to be as overwhelmed, which they were against Michigan State. So I definitely think you're gonna get to see a lot more of like receivers, some of those like connections with Fancher. Like I think we're gonna get to see it more tomorrow.
And actually, I was thinking back to what you were saying, JD, about the atmosphere in the crowd and like how big that would be a factor for the team. Because Cameron and I were both there at the press Tuesday, and Jay-Sean Platt, who scored the only touchdown for FAU and his first career touchdown at FAU, he was saying how he loves being in that atmosphere at FAU, especially when the crowd's so packed. So definitely motivates the players a lot, seeing how many fans show up in the just like the fan base and like the school spirit in that stadium. So especially going against a tough opponent like Army, it'll be definitely an important big factor to having fans at the game, especially since the majority of our crowd looks to be like ROTC and Army fans. It'd be good to see some more FAU fans in the stands.
Yeah,
It's gonna be like a million degrees at that game too.
That's what the projected temperature is supposed to be, like 90 something, but it's gonna feel like 108.
And Army's wearing all black.
Yeah.
Oof.
I think we're in the sand one, which I predicted on my one Twitter post.
Really?
Imagine they were the sand ones. Yeah, they were wearing back-to-back.
I got announced that into
I think that's a good uniform
But
matchup.
I was gonna say I got an email from the school and it was something like they only have like 2,300 tickets left, so it's gonna it'll be packed. And that email was on like Tuesday or so, so I'm sure they've gotten probably another 1,000 since then.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see like the human element since it's 12 p.m. kick. That also means way earlier a tailgate. And you know, for the people of legal drinking age, and unfortunately the people that are not of age that will be drinking tomorrow, my message, my PSA to all of you: stay hydrated. Please wake up early to eat breakfast. Don't skip breakfast. Don't have a White Claw for breakfast. Like, please get hydrated. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see because you know maybe there are plans to have a full stadium, but if people are crashing out or just don't end up making it to a 12 p.m. kick because it's going to be so hot. We'll just have to wait and see. I'll probably be enjoying the game from the comfort of my home in air conditioning. Why are you hating? Well, you're going to cover it, so, right? Yeah.
I would say stay the entire game.
Yeah.
Please, fans.
Yeah, if you're going to go, stay the entire game and support FAU.
Yeah.
Be televised also, so I mean, great to see like some publicity for FAU at football, showing hey, FAU's a football school because look how big the student section is, how big the crowd is. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the turnout is. But we're going to end off this segment with what our game score predictions are going to be. We do have staff predictions that will be going up later today, 6 p.m. And you can read that at UPress online. But we're gonna get into it right now. Just as a sneak peek for me, I have FAU winning 24-10 against Army. I just think that the offense is going to look way more connected than they would have looked. I had said that I didn't really want to judge a team that was playing a Power 4 school at home, and Cam Fancher was getting his head knocked off, got targeted twice. So I think the offense will definitely be way more put together, and I trust the defense to be disciplined enough, especially under defensive coordinator Rock Bellatoni. I think they'll be locked in on the triple option. My only concern is any play action that Army decides to set up when they do decide to throw the ball, because they're probably going to have to be really locked in on their gaps and making sure that their mans are covered in the triple option. But I think if the offense can just be serviceable enough, the defense will help them play the field of position battle, help them win that side of the ball. And then I think the offense will do just enough to get by and have a nice win at home.
Yeah, I'm predicting 21-14 FAU losing, just because my
Spicy.
I'm not saying I don't have faith in them. It's just
I don't think they're gonna win.
With their defense, it did look very solid, but like we've said, with the triple threat option, I just am concerned with the clock. Because that type of defensive style, it really takes up more time. And starting off the Michigan State game, FAU's offense, the time comparison at the start of the game was crazy. Like, the offense was struggling maintaining the ball for long periods of time. So if that starts again, that's where my concern comes in. It's just that the defense is going to get exhausted, especially with the heat factor as well. So that's kind of the main reason, just because of the clock almost.
Yeah, absolutely. Cam?
I was thinking that FAU wins 31-21 just because I think the offense might still look a little bit disjointed at the beginning of the game, and I think there might be early on a couple breakdowns on defense, just them trying to get accustomed to playing against a triple option live and in game. So I think it probably might go into halftime a little closer, or maybe with even Army in the lead. But I think they might wear down after a while, and ultimately I think that the offense, like I said, we're going to start to see them get more comfortable. We're going to see put actual drives together, and I think ultimately Army wears down after a while, and FAU wins 31-21.
I'm glad somebody has some faith on the panel.
Maddox, do you have faith?
Maddox can unfortunately not share his predictions. He's being a good journalist, as he'll be broadcasting the game for Owl Radio. But if you want to hear what he has to say about that, you can check him out live on FAU OwlRadio.com, where he'll be broadcasting the game. Who are you doing it with?
Nick Turok,
Okay.
the station manager. However, we're also on TuneIn Radio as well. You can download that app. It's free. Get a chance to type in FAU Owl Radio. You hear the broadcast live, or if you're on campus just chilling the breezeway, I guess, or something, like you'll definitely hear the broadcast. So
That's awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
I always think like for like broadcasting, like what my catchphrase would be, because I feel like all the catchphrases are really taken.
Like, I just-
like
I really
What's
like
your catchphrase?
I really don't like have much. However, like I was just listening to a volleyball game coverage last night from Nebraska because like in a couple of weeks I'm gonna be calling volleyball. My first time calling volleyball, so I'm not like good understanding. And the guy kept saying like kaboom. So I was like looking up like synonyms for that. Like one was like wham. I was like maybe that. I mean,
It's got to be organic. It's got to be
has-
organic. It's
yeah.
got to be you just like calling a game and like it comes out and you're like, wow, that was a really good, and just roll with
a
it.
lot of professional broadcasters do say that like over time they like work with like words, catchphrases, like kind of
Yeah.
clicks to them. So
It'll come to you.
Yeah.
I feel. I think when I tune in tomorrow, I'm gonna peep it. Maybe it'll be tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous could be your go-to. It's already been
Yeah.
the go-to for the show. But like, yeah, I think of Eric Reed, who does the local broadcast. His is kaboom.
Yeah.
I believe. Mike Breen has bang.
yeah,
Probably the
that's
most
trademark. No one can take that.
Yeah, that's one of the most iconic ones. But yeah, I don't know what my catchphrase would be either. But I hope, like Cam said, it would just kind of be like organic.
It just happens, yeah.
And it just happens. But before we get into, that's all we have for FAU housekeeping. Honestly, I'm like just waiting for us to be like in full effect for the fall, basketball, football, all the other sports. Because right now we're just sitting on our heels waiting for more things to come through. But that's the end for FAU housekeeping, and now we're going to get into a little live read. Interested in a career in media? Come stop by the second floor of the Student Union to meet the 3 pillars of student media. OwlTV in room 231, Owl Radio in room 207, and University Press in room 214. If you're a journalism major, communications, marketing, or just looking for a cool community, check us out. UP General Meetings are Mondays at 2 p.m., TV General Meetings are Fridays at 1 p.m., and Radio General Meetings are Mondays at 3 p.m. For more information, search FAU Student Media online. Like we said last show, guys, we're back. We were so back. We had the first game of the season for the NFL, Chiefs versus Ravens. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really get to catch too much of it.
It was a really good game.
But yeah,
Really
was it a good game?
Yeah.
Because when I was catching bits and pieces, it was what, 10-7 going into the half? I know it picked up towards the end.
No, I think it was like 13-10 probably.
I
going
believe
into,
so.
Into the half. Yeah, I saw only a little bit of that game because I was preparing my notes for this Army FAU game, but I saw the very end of that. I saw that touchdown from Isaiah Likely, the toe.
The
inbound.
toe just, yeah.
It literally looked like he was outbound.
Did you see what Patrick Mahomes said in the press conference? He was like, next time wear white shoes.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But like Lamar Jackson, like, in all honesty, it didn't look like he was stepping out of bounds. You can clearly see his like toe on the white line, which means he was out. I'm like, yeah, it's clearly out.
Well, you know what they say about football, it's a game of inches.
Yeah,
So,
and that really proves it.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, okay, well, I'm glad it was a good game to open up the season. And, it's unfortunate that, I think with season openers the first week, it's always interesting to see which teams are starting off with a loss on their record. Ravens being coming off an AFC Championship appearance and losing to the Chiefs last season. This kind of felt like a good opportunity for them to get their lick back, and unfortunately, it didn't turn out in their favor. But I feel like I'm not a betting man. We've already discussed why it feels too good. So I just can't bet ever again. But
Not taking the over?
No, not taking the over, not taking Aiden Child's advice. But you just can't. I just feel like you can't bet against Mahomes. You really can't. And with that, I would say if you had to place a bet, would you guys place a bet on the Chiefs to three-peat this year?
I mean, I think they, as you call it right now, they have as good a chance, just going off that game, if we're going to make flaming takes, they still have like as good a chance as anybody. Because I look at that game and, watching Patrick Mahomes last night, I don't think that was his most, transcendent performance of like his entire career. But you look at the stat sheet, he was 20 for 28 for almost 300 yards. And a touchdown to 1 interception. That's a win against probably one of the better contenders in the NFL. That's a pretty, quietly inefficient night. So to think that they'll probably get better over the entire season, and I think their defense did a pretty good job of slowing down Lamar Jackson last night. But again, I think they're going to get better over the entire season. I think, as you call it right now, I think they have as good a chance as anybody at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would say that, I feel like usually when new seasons come around, the off season happens, players move around, the draft happens, and, the odds go up and down. And I feel like people don't always want to be so quick to name the reigning Super Bowl champion, the favorite going into the next year. But I just think, like you said, it may have not been Mahomes' greatest performance of his career, but I just think he's reached, to use your word, a transcendent point where he just is consistently above the pack. You know what I mean? Lamar, you could say Lamar had a better game than him statistically, but it seems like Mahomes, and this is probably some glazing, but it feels like he's just reached a point that we kind of just I never really feel like they're in danger of losing. I just feel like they're always the win is always in his hands. And that's how it ended up, with the Super Bowl win last year against the Niners. If you allow Mahomes to put together a game-winning drive, he's going to be able to do that. So I have them as the favorites. I think it's going to be absolutely insane to see a three-peat. I just don't see a clear challenger because, every team in the NFL has flaws. As of right now, I think the Chiefs' flaw was the same as last year, that their receiving core isn't really maybe up to the rest of the league standard, but, bringing in Xavier Worthy, he had an incredible game yesterday. Wish I would have drafted him.
Same, I thought that too.
Want to hear something crazy? I drafted him and had him on the bench last night.
How many fantasy points was it?
I would have to look.
It was upwards of 20.
I would say it was.
He scored 2 touchdowns, so it definitely has to be about that.
After a while, I was like, okay, I'm done getting mad like he's on the bench. But honestly, I don't think he's going to be that productive. Well, he's definitely not going to be as productive
as he was last game.
Yeah, that was a real busted coverage. There was no within 10 yards of him, that second score. And I think that was kind of fluky, that first touchdown. But I think he'll be a good receiver. I think he might have fooled some people last night, though. No hate on him whatsoever.
Yeah, we're not trying to be so crazy with the flaming takes, but for the sake of content, sometimes
it's going to be hard for him to play in a lot of situations. What teams that are running a lot of man-to-man, bump coverage. It's going to be hard for him just being 180 pounds and not the tallest guy in the world. I think he's going to have a long way to go, but he's going to be all right.
Yeah, I have Rashee Rice on one of my fantasy leagues, and I have Mahomes in another one. So every time they were connecting on the slants, it really felt like a chef's kiss. But what about you, Megan? I know you're the resident Lions fan.
Yeah.
You actually have the Lions shirt. We're repping OwlTV today.
I'm not repping it, but I had it on earlier.
I feel like you probably believe that you guys are going to the Super Bowl, but I mean, if the Lions
I wouldn't say I believe it, but I would say
it.
Sure.
Right, but if the Lions were to meet the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, what would you like your chances?
I don't know. I don't think I'd like those. They just see now. I'm gonna glaze them too, kind of. But they just they look so uniform together. As soon as Patrick Mahomes just walks on the field, he looks like he's just in his zone, fully. And it's just hard to kind of doubt him almost at this point. Even when. It was that one play where he threw the ball and then one of the Ravens guys tapped it up and then he still was able to jump up in the air and catch it. And I was just it was kind of wow, he just got that back and he wasn't fazed by that at all. So I think that's one thing. He's kind of probably at the point where mentally he knows that he's good. So if he messes up once or twice back to back, it really just doesn't faze him anymore. And it shouldn't. So I don't know if I'd like our chances.
I'd understand. I wouldn't like my chances, the Dolphins' chances against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs either, too. Especially at a point in his career where, there were a lot of conversations early on about, he has Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, is he just a product of the weapons? And now he's been blessed with the opportunity to have a stellar defense, and he's showing that he can get it done with guys off the street. I feel like if we were out there running routes for Mahomes, I feel like we could still put together a drive. I just think that's the point we're at with this guy. And honestly, it's a treat to watch, and especially as a fantasy league, what do you call him? Manager, I guess.
GM.
Yeah, GM, right? It feels fun to just be able to actually support a great quarterback.
They're gonna get better, I think, a lot better because you brought up Travis Kelce. I felt like I almost didn't notice him last night, just because like I just feel like I never heard his name called. I think he had finished with like three catches total, 34 yards. I think he's someone that's going to get involved a lot more. And I just think, last year was a down year for the Chiefs, and they still won it all. I think on paper their roster got a lot better over the offseason, just be drafting well. So I think it's hard to pick someone against them to have like the best odds, I think, to win the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. So we actually, since we're so back, we actually have football tonight, 8:15. Packers will be going against the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil. For an interesting reason that I don't really know why. We are
grow the game.
Huh?
Grow the game.
To grow the game. I don't. NFL is trying to leave its mark internationally. Flag football will be making its way to the Olympics, which we actually covered a little bit at the beginning of the semester. So that'll be interesting to see. How the people of Brazil, really, gravitate towards the game of American football.
It just makes me wonder though, like how many Brazilians their like first interaction with American culture is like a big group of like Eagles fans chanting like "Go Birds."
I just saw that on today.
It's an easy way to turn them off the NFL.
I just saw that today on Twitter, and actually I commented about it because like one the well-known Eagles super fans, the guy with the mohawk and the face paint. Oh, he was at the what was that statue? The
Christ the Redeemer statue.
Thing? And I was like, the Brazilian mind cannot comprehend this. Because of course soccer fans are and seeing those European games and international crowds seeing how passionate they are. It's insane. However, I feel just for in the style football sport, not that many countries really know much about American football really. Just seeing this fans, the huge support of the fans is a little bit weird. I mean, imagine telling a Brazilian fan hey the Chiefs won, super fans now in jail. Be what? This guy just is a wolf now jail. I feel the Brazilian mind cannot comprehend.
Yeah, but I think there's also to also flip it on its head. There's probably so much lore in regards to Southern American soccer that the American mind cannot comprehend because, like you said, international soccer is international, and those events always get crazy. But I do like the point that you made, Cameron. Imagine because there's definitely Green Bay Packer fans that have traveled to Brazil, kind of made a vacation of it. Same thing with Eagles fans. So they're probably why do these people have cheese on their head, and why are they dressed like Vikings and stuff like that? Also, interesting report apparently that I remember seeing. Both these teams, their colors are green, and Brazil's flag is green and yellow. So apparently there's sort of conflict of not being allowed to wear certain colors for the team.
Wait, is that a thing? They can't wear green in the game?
Yeah, aren't they not allowed to wear green?
I think it's for the stadium because for Corinthians Arena, I think they said their biggest rival wears green or something, and they don't allow it. And everyone was saying. So the NFL brought in two teams that wear green
into
the game. That's kind
of petty. I feel that's kind of childish.
But I think it was a matter of safety concerns because of the climate, the social climate.
That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
The players are now leaving their hotels. Basically, they were told not to, and also.
Well, one thing I saw that was really interesting was that I want to say the Eagles are home, correct?
Yeah. Technically,
yeah. The Eagles are staying from right next to the stadium, while the Packers have a 2-hour commute. I want to say it is, which I couldn't really understand, but I thought that was really, really odd.
I maybe make that feel like a road home game versus a road game for both teams, I guess. But another thing I find kind of interesting about this game is for where it's located. Of course, some people might not know this in the news, but the Brazilian government kind of banned Twitter now, and journalists, especially sports journalists, who writes articles, do live reads and live tweets, they use Twitter. So now it's how are the journalists are going to use that when they're on in a new country covering this game for either a CBS or a local Green Bay newspaper or something. So how are they able to handle that? But not using Twitter, so because that's one huge part of their job now is also do live tweets. So I find that's a very kind of interesting, weird situation where this first game in Brazil, a lot of players really don't look too happy. They're really not allowed to wear green. Brought in two teams that wear green. The thing right now with the government, they can't really use Twitter, so it's going to affect the sports journalists. It seems a little bit of a mess. I'm still looking forward to watching the game. I feel the whole situation seemed a little bit off.
Yeah, maybe there wasn't a full like thorough process, but it was maybe more so like an availability thing. Like, oh well, Brazil has this big soccer stadium, and we can turn it into football. And they plan to play in Munich, Germany, and they also plan to go back to London. So I'm always looking forward to those games as well. But yeah, I think from like a scheduling perspective, that definitely has to suck. That one of your home games you still kind of have to travel for.
Oh no, teams hate that. Teams really hate that,
Jags
especially
are
fans too.
Jags are used to it probably because they have like two London games now.
Well, because I want to say that teams, whenever they play overseas, they have to sacrifice like a home game, unless I'm mistaken. And I remember the year that the Jaguars played twice overseas, it was like a really big thing with their fans. Like, you're giving away 2 home games, essentially. So I think a lot. They definitely thought goes into it, like things with like scheduling is why they get there. But it is interesting, like when like they play overseas, like things like this. I really can't comprehend this, like why one team has to stay 2 hours away.
Yeah, that fact is so strange to me.
Like I'm looking at CBS right now.
To get to a different country, I feel like it is difficult enough trying to do that.
That
Maybe
really
they
just doesn't
could've,
make sense
like,
to me.
Set it where, because it's the Eagles are home, right?
Yeah,
The Eagles are the home
Maybe
game,
they
yeah.
could have set it where they could get there a week early, and then the Packers could get there like 3 days early. I feel like that would have been more.
I feel like at that point, like, let's just not do this international stuff.
It's not even that. I'm just saying, like, I'm just simply asking, is there not 2 hotels in Sao Paulo? Like, there's only one?
Maybe.
Like I gotta say, like, for what I think, one is I feel like for this situation, they're trying to make that like a feel for the players being like,
What,
okay,
like feeling like an away game? Well, that's
like
just stupid.
fields
That's
are
just
close
stupid to
the
me.
city.
They're like halfway across like the world. Like, does that not feel far away enough?
Not really. Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, technically they're not halfway
Yeah,
across the world, but is going from like Green Bay, Wisconsin to Brazil, is that not like enough of like an away game feeling? That's
Yeah.
just so odd to me.
But I feel like maybe another thing is for a reason why a lot of teams don't like playing those international games, not just because they're sacrificing an actual home game, but also when you go watch like those Munich games, those London games, even like a while ago they had the Mexico City games, seeing the crowds, a lot of them wearing like those, like whoever those 2 teams are, a lot of them wearing those uniforms, but a lot of others are wearing different team uniforms, kind of like a Super Bowl feel.
Oh, I'm sure that,
So,
okay,
like, not
I'm
having
sure
that
that's
being,
like the
home
half
field
of
advantage.
why they don't like it. I'm sure most of it is like traveling halfway across the world is a hassle. And then
jet
you got
lag
to
and
think
all that
about it.
type of stuff.
That exactly, and it not only cuts in like the travel cuts into this week. It makes next week like a short week as well. I'm not sure if like the Packers or the Eagles have a bye next week, but having to travel back to Brazil, that's like probably double the amount of turnover a normal away game. So like the get back, practice, film, that schedule also gets thrown on their head. So it's like it's not just this week. It goes into next week. It also has to alter
well,
the
I
schedule.
think-
The Eagles are playing on the 16th, so a Monday game
And-
for their next one.
So they get one of
And
those days
Packers
back,
are
but still
Packers are playing 1 p.m. 1 p.m.
on Sunday
game.
for
Yeah.
week 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
they
think-
made it a little bit easier.
So
but
one of the
sometimes-
teams gets their week back, but that's still, it's going to have its effect. So I know that's probably part of why.
Yeah,
But
it's an
I'm sure some of the
interesting-
players enjoy playing overseas.
No, I mean, it's definitely a great experience to, go to countries that people have never been before. But yeah, I think it's an interesting choice by the NFL to make this a week 1 game.
How hot is it going to be in Brazil? Like,
These are the questions.
That's a good question.
Cameron,
It's gonna be-
Cameron
No,
just,
I just
Cameron just
remember
Googles,
vividly-
Cameron just Googles Brazil.
do you all remember whenever was it the World Cup that was in Brazil? It was like ridiculously hot. Like, I have a vivid memory of like some player in the World Cup like taking off his jersey and like wringing out sweat.
I do actually know it now that I was about to like flame you and be like, no, but I do.
You know what I'm
remember that.
talking about. So, but from what I'm looking at, it's only going to be 65, nice and brisk.
Yeah, no,
65?
it'll be a chill game, but I am looking forward to it. I'm excited to see how the Brazil crowd reacts to football because our American mind when it comes to soccer, they flop a lot. It's really it's a contact sport, but they're really trying to avoid it at all costs. But for them to get a taste of American football and see how really physical it is, I think that would be exciting.
There was a really interesting story in The Athletic about like Brazilian football, and there's like a
Brazilian American
like
football?
American football,
Okay.
and there's like a lot of kind of like very bush league, like underground, like American football leagues, and there's like a very small like sector of it, and it was like very interesting read.
Across like all countries? Or
Well,
just
yeah, that story specifically was about Brazil, but I know like there's a football league in Italy. I want to say like everyone knows like the Canadian football league.
There's
and
the
then,
European League of Football, and they have like I think right now 24 teams, including like Paris and Munich and whatnot. So
and
they have,
I mean, high school football in Europe is like growing prominence. I want to say either FAU's class of 2025, 2024. I want to say, or yes, class of 2024. They had a player from Germany. An offensive lineman.
Rohi,
yeah, exactly, an offensive lineman from
What
Germany.
an insane poll. That was awesome. That was really good.
I would say like before we jump to our next thing is one thing I have also wonder is for Corinthians Arena, primarily soccer
Interesting
stadium,
looking arena.
Yeah, wondering how the turf will be too, because I was like I'm wondering too as well.
I would actually say that and this has been a big thing to bring in a local star in Leo Messi. He
Local star.
well, he's an international. He's our star now.
Okay.
He's an international star, but he's a Miami
South Florida star.
He's a
Lionel
South Florida
Messi,
star.
okay.
Yeah, come on. And when he came to play for Inter Miami, he had declared, before he wrote his contract, that he's not going to play on any turf. So they upkeep. They have groundskeepers that keep up with the grass and stuff like that. So I would actually argue that the grass is better over there than it is.
Well, I would say, and NFL players are used to playing on like some of the worst turf, like
New Jersey.
like MetLife.
Yeah,
Yeah.
MetLife.
So I mean, unless it's some really god awful stuff they got, like turf they have, it can't be like worse than like the worst stuff these guys have played on.
Yeah,
Which,
and
I was gonna say, which reminds me, I'm praying for all the for the finalists for the 2026 World Cup final going to be in New Jersey. In
That
MetLife.
definitely that has to
No,
get
no, no. They
addressed.
actually
has
that's a
to
good
get-
point,
that'll
but
get
they
addressed.
they did confirm that they will have grass for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Because those guys, when it comes to international stars, like
They don't
So
know
many of
what
those
afro
guys
turf
would probably be like, no, I'm not playing on
is.
that-
They don't know what afro turf is. Like, what is this?
and there's soccer players that play in Saudi Arabia that are on like billion-dollar contracts. So like we think that the contracts are insane now for like NFL quarterbacks and NBA stars. Those soccer players, man, they are loaded.
Yeah,
So
didn't
they-
Mbappe recently get like a couple $1 billion?
It was like valued at
Yeah,
$1
like,
billion.
for
Not-
Saudi
like those
Arabian
contracts,
team,
they're not
yeah.
getting like $1 billion cash, but like with all like the, a lot of them they're getting like stocks in teams and like companies and things like that. In Messi's contract, it was like Apple, like he's getting like Apple money. It gets valued at $1 billion.
Yeah.
Hey man, and I'm over here like struggling every 2 weeks to get paid. We over here talking about $1 million athletes, but no, that's all good. It's for the sake of entertainment. But getting into getting after the game today, we have a plethora of games on Sunday and Monday. So I just want to ask everybody, what your game of the week is. Cam, do you want to go?
I think
off
that Sunday night game is what I'm looking forward to.
Tell the people who's
It's
playing.
excuse me, Rams Lions. I hope I didn't take Megan's pick, but I just remember how much fun to watch that Rams Lions playoff game last year was, when it was like Goff going against his old team and what's his name, Matthew Stafford going against his old team, and now it was such a great game. It was like Jared Goff played really great, and Matthew Stafford was out there hooping for 4 straight quarters. But it ended kind of with like a ref show. So I'm just really excited to see that rematch. That's why I picked that game.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good choice. Megan, did you have the same one?
Yeah, he
Dang
did
it.
steal my pick.
My
but-
bad.
But what are you looking forward to that may be different from Cam?
I'm also looking forward to seeing. I don't know. I kind of want to see I want to see the Broncos and Seahawks game, just because both those teams, like, they were kind of just.
Meh.
Yeah. Like, they were. I was trying to think of like what word to say than just like but they were kind of like okay teams. So I feel like it'll be kind of like an even matchup and just a way for them to both really see how they're looking this season, since they did similar last year. But my heart will be set on the line soon.
No, for sure. I think those are definitely two good ones. Also, the Sunday night production is just absolutely incredible. always a big fan of that. And actually, I think tonight's game is also on Peacock. I'm not sure if it's going to be Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico because they did the game yesterday. But yeah, those are definitely two good ones. I'm also looking forward to seeing how Bo Nix looks in his first game, especially having to go against a pretty stellar defense against the Seahawks. I will have to pay attention for fantasy reasons because we are all in our own fantasy football league, a student media fantasy football league that we'll be getting into for the final segment. But Maddox, what's your game of the week?
I put down Texans and Colts. I feel like you see how big CJ Stroud was last season, and some people are saying, oh, probably like rookie luck. Let's see how he plays this year. Add Stephon Diggs, add some extra help for him. The offense looks well. Add some extra pieces on defense, including Danielle Hunter, another great defensive end. So that team looks already loaded. And now with the Colts, Anthony Richardson, he got injured early on, but he was an exciting person to see. A lot of people were looking forward to seeing him play in his rookie year. And so now him a full year healthy, going against a divisional rival week 1. Everyone who doesn't love a divisional rival matchup, and
especially in week 1.
Yeah, so I was thinking with the Texans and Colts, two young quarterbacks, young offense, young teams going against each other in week 1. It'd be really exciting to see that. I think it's an underrated game.
No, you know what? I think that's a really good point. And the fact that it's a 1 p.m. game, that's probably I'm going to be locked in on Red Zone, but I think that's definitely going to be one that I'll have on its own independent window. Also really excited to see how Shane Steichen, their head coach, really has a great offensive mind, how he plans on utilizing Anthony Richardson now that he's healthy. Praying that he can stay healthy because he's shown some just really incredible flashes, both with the arm talent and running the ball.
Him going against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter now on the other end, other side of that ball for Richardson, that'll be interesting to see, especially how the offensive line holds up against those two guys.
Yeah, absolutely. For me personally, maybe this is kind of a cop-out being that it's the Monday night game, but I am really excited for this Jets at San Francisco game, just because we made a big hoopla last season with Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. We all know the iconic video of Aaron Rodgers stepping out onto the field with the American flag, and people, memed the heck out of it.
Top 100 now in the NFL, playing 75 seconds. Top
100, top 100 NFL player who didn't even play the whole season. But yeah, I think I'm really interested to see Aaron Rodgers in his regular season debut with the Jets, especially at it not being an easy task in San Francisco. And also Aaron Rodgers, being a Cali guy, it'll be interesting to see how he plays in that environment. And just to also, it's definitely going to be a great defensive battle. And I'm also curious to see what that Super Bowl hangover loss is going to look like for the 49ers. Although Brock Purdy did have a really great game, I feel like a lot of people are waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for this Linsanity run for Brock Purdy to kind of damn Cam. Waiting for the Linsanity run to end. But I think Brock Purdy, I think he's their guy. They're going to have to figure out what the extension looks like for him after this season. But I think that's a really, really good Monday Night Football game.
And Dev, one question for you. So, over or under, Aaron Rodgers lasts on the field longer than 75 seconds?
Well, I'm going to take the over on that. I would have to see.
Childs are going to be taking the over.
Yeah, I would have to see the odds on that. But yeah, I'm hoping that he stays healthy. Obviously, I never want to see any players get hurt. Although, he's a pretty interesting guy. But as far as a football player, it's always a treat to see, arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time on the field. And especially for him to be now, I believe now he's the oldest quarterback in the league.
41 or 42, I think.
Yeah, around up there in age. So it'll be he's Unk. Yeah, a lot about Unk. So
dang.
But no, I'm excited to see if Aaron Rodgers still has some left in the tank. Because I think he's got Garrett Wilson. I'm actually not too sure what the rest of that receiving core looks like. But there's a lot of high expectations for Breece Hall this upcoming season. The line has retooled a little bit. So that's my game of the week. And we'll regroup next show Wednesday at 4 p.m. to see how our game of the weeks went. To close off the show, we're gonna just give a little bit of insight on how our fantasy football draft went. And who has the best team? So I believe does anybody have their team pulled up? And does anybody want to share what their story?
I wrote mine down.
You want to go first, Maddox?
Yeah, I wrote mine down. So my team's called Who Gives a Hoot. Very clever name. So my team is Jalen Hurts, Isaiah Pacheco, Austin Eckler, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, Kyle Pitts now because I just made a trade with Nick Turok.
You made a trade already?
Yeah, because he wanted Dalton Kincaid. So I was like, all right.
Do I wait? Okay, I got to see if I could see where that trade happened. But okay.
So I'm gonna get Kyle Pitts next Wednesday. Deebo Samuel Sr., Cleveland defense and secondary. Sorry, not secondary, and special teams. Harrison Butker, I know. And then for the bench, Devontae Smith, Anthony Richardson, DeAndre Swift, Baltimore defense, Tony Pollard, Brandon Aubrey, and Dalton Schultz. And I told this to Nick, I actually got Tony Pollard after I made that selection. I realized he was on the Titans. I thought he was on the Cowboys still, because I was like, oh, only like running back on the Cowboys.
This
I get
guy.
so many. Yeah, but I mean, he could still
Not
have a good
prepared
game.
for the draft.
Not locked
he could still have a good game against Bears defense, maybe.
Yeah, I do also want to mention for anybody that's like fantasy football nerds out here, this is only an 8-man league, so our teams may sound very stacked, especially when we get to Cameron's receivers. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts was one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy last year with all those tush pushes.
Yeah.
So you definitely sneak in some points there. Harrison Butker, always one of the best kickers in the league.
So is Brandon Aubrey, like almost on that.
Yeah, and to have CeeDee Lamb and Deebo Samuel as your receivers, that's definitely a treat. I think your running backs are a little weak.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you who to start because I unfortunately have to prey on your downfall.
That's
but
nice. We're not even facing each other week one, but okay.
listen, everybody lose and I have to win, but that's the mindset you got to have. But Megan, share with the people what your team's looking like.
So my team, I have Lamar Jackson. He got me 25 points last night, so I was happy with that. And then I have Mixon, and then Kenneth Walker and Chris Goodwin. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, and then Jalen Waddle. I have the 49ers defense and special teams. I have
Fairbairn?
Kaimi Fairbairn?
What?
Kaimi Fairbairn?
Yeah, I don't know.
What?
Kaimi?
Kaimi?
Unless I'm
How to say his
mistaken.
last name.
Fairbairn.
Fairbairn, yeah.
Fairbairn, yeah.
His full name's like really long.
I mean, to be fair, that's how people feel when they look at my last name, so no hate to him. But I have Joe Burrow. This is my bench. I have Joe Burrow, Ezekiel Elliott. I have Dallas Goedert.
I'm absolutely loving this last name pronunciation, but keep going.
Okay, I have Montgomery.
Yeah, all the Lions. Oh my God.
Well, okay.
Keep going.
I
my
have Reed, Sutton, and then I also have Williams.
So you have 4 Detroit.
Okay. Last night I was watching the game with my friends, and they were claiming to be fantasy experts, but I don't know. But they were just like, "Why do you have 2 kickers?" And then just did the trade for me, so now I have a 4th Lions guy, which I did not initially draft him. I only drafted 3
Well,
to start out, but I was also like kind of just basing it off what you said. Just go with whoever has a lot of points, because I've never done fantasy, so I didn't really know what I was doing.
Got 3 Lions wide receivers between Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and Jameson Williams.
listen, let her cook.
Let her cook.
I think I know. Just you did take another quarterback pretty early, but this is why we wanted to do this for the. For student media is that we wanted everyone to get like their feet wet.
Yeah.
We're not betting no money for this league because it would have felt like taking candy from a baby.
Yeah, it's just bragging rights. Just bragging rights.
Yeah, maybe if anything, maybe what we could do is we all chip in and like the winner gets like a little trophy or something. But we'll chalk that up at a later date. We're getting towards the end of the show, so I'm gonna make my team quick. I'm just gonna give you my starting lineup for this week. I have Josh Allen at quarterback, Saquon Barkley and Rachaad White at running back. Drake London and T. Higgins at wide receiver. I have David Njoku from Cleveland at tight end. I have Rashee Rice at my flex, which he had a great 7 reception, 103 yards last night. I have Dallas's defense, which I'm not like the biggest fan of. And I have Jake Elliott, the kicker from Philadelphia, which I really hope that Philly just, death by 1,000 paper cuts against Green Bay and just a bunch of field goals. I like my team. My bench is also looking pretty good. I got Jonathan Taylor, Ayuk. I know I just said I wasn't going to go through my bench, but it's actually pretty stacked. I got your boy. I got 2 of your boys, actually.
Who's my boy?
I got Caleb Williams and Odunze.
On the bench. Good pick.
Yeah. I got Ty Chandler from running back from Minnesota, just in case Aaron Jones inevitably goes down. And Deontay Johnson, receiver for Carolina, got a fresh start, away from Pittsburgh. So I really like my team, but fantasy is a majority of luck, and it's also kind of a war of attrition, hoping all my guys stay healthy. Cam, tell the people who you got.
They might have came to learn. I came to win. My team doesn't have a name. I came up with a name just now. I don't want to say it on air, though. But My team is Dak Prescott, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. Evan Ingram, Chris Olave, but he's not going to start at my flex. Jaguars defense, and Evan McPherson is my kicker. On the bench, Malik Neighbors, Tank Dell. One of those will probably play the flex instead of Chris Olave. Christian Kirk, Zamir White, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, Javonte Williams, and Jalen Warren. So obviously, I win.
I gotta say, I'll get, just before we get to you, Maddox, your bench is weak, bro.
What are you talking about? I have Malik Neighbors and Tank Dell on.
Jones? Right,
Here we go.
You don't trust Daniel Jones.
Gotta figure it
Tank
out.
Dell is wide receiver 3.
Who's Daniel Jones gonna be throwing to besides Malik Neighbors?
Allen Robinson. Duh.
He said Allen Robinson.
Anyways.
He said Allen Robinson.
Yeah, and wait till it's Tommy DeVito throwing him passes week 4.
What week do I play you? All this reckless you're talking right now.
Yeah, we'll have to circle back on this. But what were you gonna say, Maddox, as we close out?
I just want to make it clear to the audience. Cameron, majority of his picks were automatic.
That's not true. That is inherently a lie. That is not true. I want to say the only starter in my lineup or he's not even starting. I think the only major pick I have that got auto-drafted was Malik Neighbors. My bad, I was doing something. Sorry.
Yeah, Cam was definitely snoozing through the draft. He took the longest to draft out of everybody, wasting everyone's time. But it's okay, because
the draft took a lot longer than I thought it was going to.
Everyone's playing mind games with one another, just going along. I went quick with my picks. I didn't, just knew who I was going to get.
Yeah, shout out to the rest of the people into the league. They're all involved with student media. You guys can also get involved with student media, like I said earlier. Shout out Steven, shout out Sophia, shout out Nick Turok, and shout out, who am I missing? Morgan Largan, shout out MJ. Best of luck to all you guys, but like I said, praying on your downfall.
We will post a poll on Twitter and social media, just being who from our rosters,
who has the best team?
Who has the best team? Which probably our key guys.
I like that. Stay tuned for that. But as we wrap up out of here, tell the people where they can find you.
They can find me on Instagram at MaddoxBlade04 and on Instagram on Twitter at Maddox Greenberg.
You can find me on Instagram at Megan_Bruinsma and then on Twitter at just Megan Bruinsma.
You can find me on Instagram at jd.delcastillo and on Twitter jd_Delcastillo.
You can find me on Twitter at CamPriester247.
We hope everyone has a great weekend and enjoys week 1 of NFL. It's been an absolute blast doing this show, and I hope you guys tune in Wednesday at 4 p.m. And yeah, that's all we got for you guys.
Peace.